Auschwitz, a single word that still chills the world to silence. A name that has come to symbolize the darkest depths of human cruelty and the terrifying consequences of unchecked hatred. In the quiet fields of southern Poland, near the town of Oświęcim, the Nazis built not merely a camp, but a machine. A machine designed for one purpose: extermination. When the first transport of Polish prisoners arrived in 1940, no one could imagine what this place would become. At first, Auschwitz was a prison, a site to punish resistance fighters and intellectuals who opposed Nazi occupation. But within 2 years, it transformed into something far more sinister: the largest extermination center in human history. Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS, personally ordered the expansion of Auschwitz. Under his command, 3 main camps were built: Auschwitz I, Auschwitz II Birkenau, and Auschwitz III Monowitz. Each served a purpose in the industrialized system of death. Auschwitz I held administrative offices in the first gas chamber. Birkenau, just a few kilometers away, became the epicenter of mass murder. Monowitz was used for slave labor, supporting German industry, especially the IG Farben chemical company. By 1942, trains from all over Nazi-occupied Europe began arriving daily. Each transport carried hundreds, sometimes thousands of men, women, and children: Jews, Poles, Roma, Soviet prisoners, and political dissidents. They were told they were being resettled to work. But as soon as they arrived, most never even saw a barrack. At the rail platform, known as the ramp, SS doctors made the selection. A wave of a hand decided who would live and who would die. The elderly, mothers with children, and the sick were sent to the left, directly to the gas chambers. Those sent to the right were marked for labor, though their survival was rarely more than a few months. The gas chambers at Birkenau were disguised as showers. Inside, Zyklon B, a cyanide-based pesticide, was poured through openings in the ceiling. Within minutes, thousands suffocated in agony. Afterward, Sonderkommandos, prisoners forced to work for the SS, removed the bodies, shaved their hair, extracted gold teeth, and burned the remains in massive crematoria. Every part of the human body had value to the Nazi state. Hair was used for textiles. Bones and ashes were used for fertilizer. Even the ashes of the dead were sold or dumped into rivers. It was genocide turned into an industry. Inside the camp, daily life was a living nightmare. Prisoners were beaten, starved, humiliated, and often executed for the smallest offenses. Roll call began before dawn and could last for hours, even in freezing temperatures. Rations were a piece of bread, watery soup, and sometimes nothing at all. Disease spread quickly: typhus, dysentery, tuberculosis. Death was everywhere, constant, ordinary. Among the SS officers, one name stands out: Dr. Joseph Mengele, the so-called Angel of Death. He performed horrific medical experiments on inmates, particularly on twins and children. He injected chemicals into their eyes, amputated limbs, and conducted operations without anesthesia, all in the name of Nazi science. None of his victims survived. And yet, in the midst of unimaginable horror, there were sparks of human courage. Prisoners formed secret resistance groups. They wrote down names, hid photographs, smuggled messages to the outside world. In 1944, one of the most daring escapes was carried out by Rudolf Verba and Alfred Wetzler, 2 Slovak Jews who managed to flee Auschwitz and reveal to the world what was happening inside. Their report reached the Allies and became one of the first detailed accounts of the Nazi extermination machine. By late 1944, as the Red Army advanced from the east, the Nazis began destroying evidence of their crimes. Crematoria were blown up, records burned, witnesses executed. Tens of thousands of prisoners were forced on death marches toward Germany. Long treks through snow and ice where thousands perished along the road. On January 27, 1945, Soviet soldiers reached Auschwitz. They found around 7,000 survivors, mostly sick, skeletal, and barely alive. They also discovered over 1 million pieces of clothing, hundreds of thousands of pairs of shoes, and tons of human hair. Silent proof of the scale of the murder. In total, more than 1.1 million people were killed in Auschwitz. Over 900,000 of them were Jews. The rest were Poles, Roma, Soviet POWs, and others whom the Nazi ideology deemed subhuman. After the war, several of the camp's commandants and guards were tried in Nuremberg and later in Krakow. Rudolf Höss, the longest-serving commandant of Auschwitz, admitted to overseeing the murder of more than 1 million people. He was hanged in 1947, on the grounds of the very camp he had commanded. Today, Auschwitz stands as a museum and memorial. Barbed wire still surrounds the barracks. The watchtowers still loom over the silent fields. Visitors walk through the same gates that bear the infamous words, Arbeit macht frei. Work sets you free. But the silence that follows is heavy, filled with the memories of those who never left. Auschwitz is not only a place of death, it is a warning. A reminder of how easily human beings can lose their humanity when hate is normalized and truth is silenced. It shows us that genocide does not begin with gas chambers. It begins with words, with prejudice, with indifference. As survivors have said again and again, never forget, and above all, never again.